Blow to the BBI proponents as High Court stops IEBC from conducting a referendum till the matters before it are heard and determined.
It's not a birthday party. It's not a walk in the path.
Bring on the impeachment motion. Members of Parliament allied to DP William Ruto come to his defense on threats to oust him from office. Johnny cut short. 7 nominated senators allied to Deputy President William Ruto, including Senator Isaac Mwaura and Millicent Omanga, are expelled from the Jubilee party. And this week on Know Your CEO, we get to interact with the CEO of the Kenya Young Parliamentary Association, Anthony Buluma. We are live on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter. On YouTube, we are live as Switch TV News. Send in your feedback to our SMS line 111 and at Switch TV Kenya and at Lincoln, Wumbogo. The High Court has issued a temporary conservatory order restraining the National Polls Body from subjecting the Constitutional Amendment Bill 2020, popularly known as the BBI Bill, to a referendum. The Turkana County Assembly and Third Way Alliance had sought to stop consideration of the bill by other county assemblies and Parliament pending determination of their consolidated petitions. On Monday, the 5-judge bench presided by Justice Joel Ngugi issued orders pending hearing and determination of the petition as consolidated with 6 others. They, however, ruled that county assemblies and Parliament are to continue with deliberations and public engagements and participation of the bill. The party further sought to have the court rule that the entire BBI process culminating in the launch of the bill was done unconstitutionally. Meanwhile, Jubilee Party has expelled 7 nominated senators on grounds of disciplinary violations. Those expelled include nominated senators Isaac Mwaura, Millicent Omanga, Mary Yane, Wako Naomi Jilo, Prengai Victor, Imandeko and Gona Christine Zawadi. The senators had appeared before the committee last year and this year on grounds of disciplinary matters as per Article 13 of the party's law. According to Jubilee's Secretary General Raphael Tuju, the expulsions are with immediate effect and have been communicated to the Senate and Registrar of political parties. Lawmakers allied to Deputy President William Ruto have met at his current state residence earlier today, where they laid out the political wing's priorities ahead of the resumption of Parliament business tomorrow. The over 150 leaders, mostly parliamentarians, aired their views on insecurity and the way forward for their faction in the coming 2022 elections. Yakudi Calvin with his story.
Tanga MPs have claimed there is a hit squad formed to commit political crimes in political rallies organized by Deputy President William Ruto and blame it on him and his allies.
We continue to propagate an ideology of principled engagement, peaceful coexistence, brotherhood, solidarity and compassion.
Members of Parliament have had their security withdrawn. That, of course, answers to the vulnerability of members if we are going for meetings without security. And we have called upon the relevant office of the IG to take into account and provide security.
Led by Nakuru Senator Susan Kihika, the Wheelbarrow team told Inspector General of Police Hilary Mutyambai to protect all Kenyans, including those attending the DP's public rallies. Aidan Duale has reiterated that they are not worried about the impeachment claims.
Let them not discuss the impeachment of the Deputy President in bars, in funerals, in the apartments of their girlfriends. Let them bring it to the floor of the House, starting tomorrow, Tuesday, when the House resumes. So we dare them, whether, here, we are telling them, all of them, the ODM, the ANC, the Wiper, the Kelewekes, please go sit somewhere, bring the impeachment. We are ready for you.
With the 2022 polls looming, the country is gearing towards campaign mode ahead of the 2022 general elections as political temperatures continue to rise. Nyakundi Kelvin, Switch TV.
Thank you, Nyakundi Kelvin. Away from politics, the Kenya Defence Forces has today launched the KDF nationwide recruitment exercise that is expected to go from the 8th of February to 19th of February 2021. 4,400 participants are looking to be recruited in the exercise, which is set to take place in 327 recruitment centres across the 47 counties. Speaking during the launch, the Vice Chief of Defence Forces, Lieutenant General Franklin Levi Mgalu, has cautioned those looking to partake in corruption practices. Daniel Karaoke with the general requirements.
Today marks the first day of the 2021 Kenya Defence Forces nationwide recruitment exercise. Speaking during the launch of the exercise, the Vice Chief of the Defence Forces, Lieutenant General Franklin Levi Mgalu, stipulated a list of requirements to be met by anyone eyeing the positions.
Kenya Defence Forces has mapped out 327 recruitment centers across all the 47 counties, with presence in 327 gazetted sub-counties. In so doing, KDF is aligning itself to the Constitution of Kenya 2010. Be a Kenyan citizen with no dual citizenship, be in possession of a valid Kenyan national ID, aged between 18 and 26 years old for GSO cadets.
The general further warning those thirsting to involve themselves in corruption practices, urging Kenyans to be wary of conmen and officers asking for bribes, issuing a hotline number to Kenyans to report any misdeeds or interference by recruiting teams on the ground.
Kenyans are advised that bribery and other acts of corruption are against the law. Should anyone give a bribe with the aim of securing a place during this recruitment exercise, they will have themselves to blame.
Successful candidates will be notified on the ground at the recruitment centers of when they are expected to report for their basic military trainings in Nakuru. And as the Kenya Defence Forces recruitment exercise 2021 officially kicks off, this year's participants hope that the process would be free and fair. Daniel Karaoke for Switch TV, Nairobi County.
Thank you, Daniel Karaoke. Back to politics. Senatorial candidate for Maendeleo Chapchap, Mutue KATUKU, has urged MACHAKOS voters to elect a competent candidate and not be swayed by sympathy or political parties. KATUKU said with the limited time remaining to the 2022 general election, it was critical for MACHAKOS residents to pick a candidate who is capable of executing their mandate in the Senate.
Maneno ya kugonganisha Wakamba hapa juu ya Kalonzo na Mudhama, tumesema hapana. Ile walikosania wapeleke nyumbani, wakasuluhishe na wazee, lakini sio kuletea vijana wetu. Safari hii hatutaki kuletewa president kutoka pale ingine. Sisi hapa kama Wakamba tumeamua. Tuko na watu wetu ambao wanaomba kura ya presidency. Tuko na mheshimiwa governor wetu, Governor Mutua anataka kuwa president. Tuko na Kalonzo Musyoka anataka kuwa president. Na tuko na Kivutha Kibwana. Kwa hivyo tunaambia Mudhama na hao watu wengine ya kwamba wasituletee watu kutoka huko.
Elsewhere, the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, KUPPET, will lobby Parliament to increase money to fund teachers' promotion. According to the union's National Organizing Secretary Paul Maingi, the current allocation of 2 billion shillings annually was too little to cater for thousands of teachers who have stagnated in one grade for long. He was speaking at St. Julian's Academy in Siaya Town during the union's Siaya branch elections that saw all officials led by Branch Executive Secretary Sam Pondo re-elected back into office.
We already gave our proposals to TSA and we expect within any time, we expect to meet with TSC so that they bring their counter offer. Then from there, we get into serious negotiations. But we are in agreement, both the union and TSC, that the previous CBA tended to favor the principals. So the one which you're going to sign must be a CBA for the classroom teacher. That we have agreed, and even TSC have realized that the classroom teacher got a raw deal during the last CBA.
Teacher Service Commission has very clear-cut roles on what it's supposed to do, and teachers have also very clear-cut roles on what they're supposed to do. So we want the minister to even think of withdrawing that bill, whatever he's intending to change, because that could bring conflict in schools, and we are not likely to have normalcy. So we want to warn. And he is even intending to even withdraw our union officials who normally are in county education boards, that they should no longer continue attending those education boards.
A section of Kenyans want leaders to stop drumming up support for the BBI and address issues affecting healthcare workers who have been on strike for 2 months now. Speaking to Switch TV, the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers Secretary General George Gibore has said that they have filed a petition to stop firing of health workers during this striking period. Mijibu Sao reports.
A section of Kenyans have expressed their concerns on the striking healthcare workers who have not been on duty for 2 months now, posing
many apologies for that story. We now take a short commercial break. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more. Welcome back and thank you for keeping it Switch TV. We are live on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter. On YouTube, we are live as Switch TV News. Send in your feedback to our SMS line 111 444 and at Switch TV Kenya. Now, a section of Kenyans want leaders to stop drumming up support for the BBI and address the issues affecting healthcare workers who have been on strike for 2 months now. Speaking to Switch TV, the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers Secretary General George Gibore has said that they have filed a petition to stop firing of healthcare workers during this striking period. Majibukitsao reports.
A section of Kenyans have expressed their concerns on the striking healthcare workers who have not been on duty for 2 months now, posing their blame on the government for the lack of services in public hospitals.
Tunaona serikali wanasema BBI. Sisi tunakataa hii maneno ya BBI, kwanza washughulikie nurses kwanza. Hii mashida hii ya nurses au sio? Hii shida ya nurses kwanza washughulikiwe, alafu tuendelee na hii maneno ya BBI.
Ningependa tu kusema serikali sana naona mara mingi imelalia kwa upande wa mambo ya BBI na siasa. Ili hali wananchi wanateseka, wananchi ni wagonjwa kule hospitali, hakuna madaktari wa kushughulikia, manurses wamegoma. Kwa hivyo mimi ningependa tu kuhimiza serikali ijaribu pia kuangalia maslahi ya wananchi, irudi katika hospitali washughulikie madaktari walipwe na manurses pia walipwe, ili wananchi tukae katika ile hali inayostahili, wananchi watibiwe na maisha ikuwe kama kawaida.
They have further urged the government not to prioritize issues surrounding BBI and center their attention on matters health.
BBI does not propose any solution to the health sector, and I get to understand that we have been on strike now for over 60 days, and of course since the devolution the strike has been on for over now. Actually, we have had more than 103 strike.
Speaking to Switch TV, the Kenya National Union of Clinical Officers Secretary General George Gibore has continued to urge the government to map out their issues, adding that they have already filed a petition to stop the firing of healthcare workers who failed to resume duties during the striking period.
In any case, if they were to say that yes, we are prioritizing the issues of BBI because we want to address the matters of establishment of the Health Service Commission, which have been the cry of many Kenyans and of course the health workers, because where it is, you'll see that the failure by the Council of Governors to actually sign a document that was negotiated with their representative participating and the Minister of Health is a clear demonstration that we have a problem in coordination and the leadership in governance of the health sector. That already Meru and Kisii, we have already obtained a court order against any firing of healthcare workers and of course any hiring with the intention of replacing them. And we are waiting for the court directive more specifically on the Kisii matters.
The striking workers, including nurses and clinical officers, lament that their colleagues are dying from COVID-19 due to lack of both protective gear and health insurance covers.
The effects of the strike are evident as many continue lamenting of lack of services in public hospitals, and some are even forced to seek expensive medical services in private hospitals. The question still stands on whether the government should focus more on the striking healthcare workers or it should focus on matters BBI. Majibu Kitsao for Switch TV.
Thank you, Majibu Kitsao. This week's episode of Know Your CEO, we get to interact with the CEO of the Kenya Young Parliamentarians Association, Anthony Baluma. Take a look. We want to know how a CEO sees his world, then here's how. Apart from running an organization and strategizing, their key role is making sure there is money in the bank. Our CEO this week is Anthony Baluma. He is the founding and current Chief Executive Officer of the Kenya Young Parliamentarians Association Secretariat. He's also founding President of the Youth Senate of Kenya, Speaker of the World Youth Parliament, among other national and international positions. Thank you for making time.
Thank you for having me.
To begin with, kindly tell us about the Kenya Young Parliamentary Association and what are your key roles?
Well, thank you for having me. I believe this should be the second show. And
it is the second show.
Yeah, I am very privileged that I can be able to share our story.
It's good to have you.
Kenya Young Parliamentarians Association is a forum for members of parliament. And when I say members of parliament, I mean those serving in the Parliament of Kenya, either having been elected, nominated, and serving in both houses of parliament, that's the Senate and National Assembly. The association was started in the year 2004. And the reason why it was started was to allow members of parliament have a framework that allows them to, in a more meaningful fashion and beneficial to the young people, engage.
And where do your roles come in?
I come in as a technical person because the structure of the association has the political, which is purely the membership of the association, and then you have the technical arm, which I am privileged to lead. And so I come in as the team leader of the technical arm of the association.
We've seen some young parliamentarians misbehave. Others go guns blazing. The other day in Kisii, 2 fist fighting. Do you have disciplinary actions?
I think it's a very difficult thing to do because remember, we operate within a purview where these individuals volunteer to join this association first. And they volunteer because they identify with the demographic youth. So again, to come and demand of them to exercise their conduct in a manner that conforms to what we define as moral or not moral is a very difficult thing to do. But there are things we are doing to try and nurture them into into offering the alternative type of leadership that this country demands. And we have a program for life coaching that every young member of parliament has been assigned a life coach.
Are there tricks that CEOs use to ensure that their companies do not fall? I mean, during this pandemic, many companies have fallen.
I don't know how others do it. It's an interesting question, but I think the main idea is to transfer ownership of whatever vision you have. Because you could have a vision for an organization, but the team that you're leading has not bought into that vision. And simply because they feel like it's more about you than them. So I think one of the best tricks that I would say I employ with my team is to show them it's not so much about Tony, but about us. If we win, we win together. If we lose, we share in the loss.
What are some of your biggest achievements?
I think ever since I took office, one of the greatest wins was to ensure the institutionalization of the association, which means setting up like an entire fully fledged secretariat and also successfully launching a strategic plan, because a good CEO has to operate based on a plan and a strategy. So that for me was a major milestone for the association. Thirdly, the successful implementation of the same plan, because it was running from 2014 to 2018. And some of the ambitious propositions of the plan included, setting up the secretariat, which we have, included passing several legislations like the AGPO, the National Employment Authority, which we have successfully passed, included setting up ourselves structures that allow us to constantly have interactions with youth, which we have done. We have a very active, what they call the reference group, that is more of a think tank outside Parliament that is comprised of young people from youth-serving organizations that we occasionally interact with, and they give us ideas and thoughts on how best to execute our mandate in Parliament.
How is your membership like in terms of numbers?
Prior to, save for the Parliament of 1963, the subsequent parliaments have never attracted a significant number of young people. In fact, it was the Parliament of 2013 that attracted a majority of young people that could match the numbers in 1963. Because in the Parliament of 2013, we had a membership of 48 members of Parliament below 35. Some were as young as 22, 23, 24, thereabout. In fact, the bulk of the majority were below 30. So the number has kept growing, even in this last election, because it was our first transition. We still attracted 51 MPs, and it could have been more, but because of the issue I brought up about the transitioning. So there are those who are 32, 34 in the last Parliament, but could not make it as members of KIPA in this one. But we've since also accommodate them through an alumni type of an arrangement. So if I was to give the actual numbers, would go up to maybe 60, 65.
This hustler and dynasty narrative has been divisive. What's your take on it?
I think people are missing out on what I would call the substance of that debate. And I think we've reduced ourselves to debating titles, you know, or names, hustler dynasty. But we are not debating the substance. I think my understanding, and this is what I have been in most of the forums telling young people, let us own the debate, but give it our interpretation, not the political interpretation. Because I know, not for politicians, it's about the next election. But as we must begin to look at the next generation, what are we ushering them into? And I believe that the conversation on the table is about the inequality in terms of economic opportunities, in terms of political opportunities, and even social standing.
And as we wind up, do you have a boys' club, a team of guys that you hang out with?
Yeah, of course. I think every young man has a boys' club.
How's the circle like?
It allows me to cool off, and that's the space where I feel comfortable getting all the criticism that about my actions, my inactions, and it's a safe space for me, because I think every young person and every Kenyan at large needs that safe space where you can be yourself for a moment, you know?
Thank you for creating time, Buluma.
Thank you.
Conversation continues next Monday right here on Switch TV. Thank you for watching. And the South African Minister of Health, Zweli Mkhize, says that more studies needed regarding the efficacy of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine ahead of national rollout as more cases of a new virus strain spread in the country. Recent research revealed that the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine fails to prevent mild and moderate cases of the South African coronavirus strain.
And we are uncertain about the impact of the vaccine that it will have on hospitalization, severe diseases and death. Excuse me. This means that what we will take from Professor Shabir Madhi is that some more work needs to be done on this issue, because the results from other countries have been quite satisfactory, but there are issues in South Africa that we need to study a bit more. There are discussions going on Sputnik V. There are discussions going on the Sinopharm. The department and the Ministerial Advisory Committee are dealing with that. There are discussions that are going on with Moderna, and we will also need to explore on Novavax, because that one had not been much of discussion. So the
And from the business desk, Kenya Airways becomes the first airline in the world to convert a Boeing 787 passenger plane into a cargo aircraft. The aircraft, with a carriage capacity of 16 tons, is expected to increase KQ's earnings by farming up the cargo holding section. In 2020, Kenya Airways used some of its Boeing 787 aircraft for cargo transportation, but seats remained, limiting the space for an increased freight capacity as economies continue to recover from the COVID economic times occasioned by COVID-19.
Of this partnership in the past year, for instance, we actually saw an increase in our exports, especially to Europe, despite COVID. But we actually saw an increase of our exports to a level that is even higher than 2019. It is this partnership of cargo, of logistics and cargo lifters that enables us to expand this. And even as you repurpose, and we're excited that you're able to deliver cargo today.
We are very excited when we see Kenya Airways making the investment that it has made to support cargo business. There's a common lesson that Kenya Airways and ourselves have learned throughout this COVID pandemic, and that is that cargo business is very resilient to withstand some of the shocks that we have undergone.
Well, from the sports desk, FC Leopards interim tactician Anthony Kimani has reportedly resigned as head coach, citing lack of respect from the top leadership of the club. Kimani has for the past 2 seasons been leading the team on interim basis after the departure of various coaches, including Kasembungo and Thomas Tuche, who left after just 1 game this season. However, there are reports that AFC Leopards might reject Kimani's resignation when he officially tenders his letter. INGWE settled for barren draw with their traditional rivals Gor Mahia and Kasarani yesterday and are currently sitting sitting fourth in the Premier League with 19 points and 2 games in hand. Moving on, the Atlas Lions became the first team ever to retain the African Nations Championship as they defeated the Eagles in yesterday's final against Mali in Cameroon. Morocco scored 2 second-half goals to defeat Mali 2-0 and became the first team to retain the title in the competition's history. Sofiane Bouftini opened the scoring in the 69th minute after Mali had held firm for over an hour. But Ayoub El Kabi added another 10 minutes later to take the contest beyond the Eagles. Host Cameroon finished fourth after losing 2-0 to Guinea in the third-placed playoff on Saturday. Africa champions Al-Ahly are set to take on European champions Bayern Munich at Ahmed bin Ali Stadium tonight in the semi-finals of the ongoing FIFA Club World Cup in Qatar. Al-Ahly advanced to the